Okay. Yeah. So it is watching my screen right now. I'm very happy for that. Yeah, we're gonna go to home and we're gonna be reacting to Zach D films. Hold on. This is kind of getting confusing. Oh, and check out my first channel because my first channel is where I do like content like this, but not this. No, not Jack. Okay. View channel? Yeah.
He was studying,
Yeah.
a hand reached through the window and dropped a velvet case onto his desk. Inside were two glowing contact lenses. He slid one onto each eye, and immediately the text on the page moved. Diagrams animated, labels slid.
Okay. This has had to be totally made up. It's actually, but Zachary Films, I ain't gonna blame you, but this had to be made up.
In place, and the answers appeared right on the paper. Every problem was solved before he even finished reading it. On the way out of the library, he saw the man who gave him the lenses watching in the distance. During labs, the lines he needed to cut appeared as paths, and when taking a test, every question lit up with answers only he could see. He graduated at the top of his class and saw the mysterious man again in the crowd. Years passed by.
Okay, let's just say this. Who did not catch the man like had a smug smile? Who did not catch that?
He became a legend in the industry. While operating, overlays hovered over organs, showing him exactly what to do. And every single one of his patients survived. After years of this, the call came. The president had suffered a stroke live on air. Emergency surgery was needed, and he was their best bet. His hands were shaking as he scrubbed in, but as he stood over the president, the lenses immediately brightened, drawing neat paths across the failing heart. He began to push the scalpel into the skin, but then everything disappeared. There was nothing to guide his hands. Shaking, he pushed the scalpel anyway and cut too deep. Blood spurted up over his arms, and it was too late. Monitors were flatlining. The president was dead. The crowd was horrified as they looked down at the body, except for one man. He was completely unfazed, with a faint smile on his face as he turned and walked away. While he was studying, a hate
Moral of the story: don't rely on someone that does this like the end. That ain't okay because I think he kept a part that could just make it like turn off.
and reached through the window and dropped a velvet case onto his desk. Inside you should look for a river if you get lost in the woods and watch which way it flows, then follow it. You see, humans have always needed water for drinking and farming, so they would typically build towns along rivers, meaning following one might lead you back to civilization. But some rivers run through empty forests for miles, meaning you could be walking for a while. You should look for a river.
I would think you would go the opposite way, but Zachary Films, why are you spreading false information?
If you get lost, Press the wood against a curved wall. Then slip a marker through a roll of tape and slide it along the wall. Now slide the roll of tape along the surface, letting the round edge follow every curve. And because the tape roll keeps the marker the same distance away, it draws the wall's exact curvature on the boards. Now just follow the outside of the line as you cut, then sand it down and enjoy the perfect fit. Press the wood against a curved
Okay, I
wall,
actually
then slip
believe
a marker
this.
through a roll of tape and slide it. The floorboards snapped under his feet at the abandoned building, and he fell straight down a sewer pipe. And when he hit the water, the current swept him away for nearly a mile, leaving him trapped in total darkness. Over 100 rescuers searched the pipes with floating cameras, and 12 hours later, they spotted muddy handprints along the walls. They rushed to an opening nearby where they heard him cry for help. And after tossing down a rope for him to grab, they finally pulled him out, covered in sewage, but alive. The floorboards snapped under his feet at the abandoned building.
Where did this take place? Because this would be all over AMC News, Fox, everything.
And they built a giant metal frame and covered it with a thick rubber skin before sticking in hoses filled with pressurized air to make it move around. And after connecting it to a crane, the shark could swim underwater and even pop out from the waves. But they only tested it in fresh water. So when the shark was put into the sea, the salt water rusted over the electrical parts. It stopped moving and then sank. So instead, the director shot several scenes from the shark's point of view, which meant he barely had to show it at all, and what you imagined in the water ended up being far scarier than any rubber prop could ever be. They built a giant metal frame and covered it with a. The blind man climbs the tree while listening to directions from his armless friend below. He cuts out small shoots to replant before the armless man tucks a shovel between his cheek and shoulder, using his feet to push it into the soil and dig holes. The blind man places the chute inside the holes, and his friend gathers water from the river with a bucket and his feet. For 13 years, they've been doing it this way every day, in the hopes of restoring their village. And even though their work has been destroyed by drought and then floods, they still haven't stopped planting. The blind.
I believe this, but if you're handless, why did the blind man not do all the water and shoveling and all, and the armless man just told him how to do it?
When someone dies in the house, the beekeeper will gently knock on the hive, according to tradition. Then they'll whisper the dead person's name inside. Some even place a black cloth over the hive, while others turn it towards the funeral procession. Now, at weddings, the couple introduces themselves to the bees before a bright cloth is tied to the hive, and a piece of cake is left behind. Now, beekeepers have done this for centuries, because if they don't keep the bees up to date, well, they just might stop making honey. When someone dies in the house, the beekeeper will check.
I did not know what to say about that one. That's weird.
No, they made the caterpillars smell the chemical. Then tiny electric shocks shot through its body, which taught it to avoid that smell. And when the caterpillar was ready to transform, it dug into the earth and shed its skin one final time. Next, its own cells began breaking it down from the inside. Its muscles and organs were recycled, turning its tissues into a nutrient fluid. And when the transformation was finally complete, they tested it again with that same smell, and immediately it turned away. meaning the moth still remembered its life as a caterpillar. They made the caterpillars smell the
What? What? I mean, like, yeah, I would believe that. That's kind of questionable.
She handed him a 1 pound weight, and he laughed. He had lifted much heavier weights before, so he grabbed it and held it out in front of him with ease. But then the teacher told him to keep holding it. A few minutes passed, and his arm started to tighten. After half an hour, it began to ache. Then the pain grew sharp. By the end of the period, his arm was shaking. He could barely keep it up. Now, the weight never changed. It was still just 1 pound, but the longer he carried it, the heavier it felt. And that's when the teacher explained. Thinking about a problem for a moment is manageable. But if you carry that stress all day, it'll drain you. Carry it for years, and it can break you. Not because the problem got bigger, but because you got weaker from never setting it down. She handed him a 1 pound weight, and the toddler wandered away from his home, and search teams combed the desert for him, nearly 7 miles away.
Why is it in the desert? Why is it in the dang desert? Why? That's stupid. I'm all caught up. What the heck?
She handed him. The toddler wandered away from his home.
No. Yeah.
If you drank an ungodly amount of milk, would you get super buff because of the protein? Well, milk is actually full of sugar, which will make you fat in large quantities. And this is why it's given to calves and babies, to literally fatten them up. But if you pass the milk through a collection of special membranes, the smaller molecules, like sugar, slip through and collect on one side. And the larger molecules, like protein, are too big to pass through, so they stay behind in the milk, which makes it super high in protein. And if you add in vitamins, minerals, and your own signature flavorings, you basically end up with a muscle building super milk. But that would be a lot of work, so you should just get a prime shake instead. If you drank an
What? What? Huh? Okay. First of all, why are you using Logan Paul? Second of all, I feel like that could be true. Well, that's the end. Bye. Like and subscribe for more. Da 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 da.